So this presentation is on use alteration traces in the megalithic burial ceramics from Kerala. So if I'm using the term megalith in a sense to indicate a burial tradition or burial practices, not as a chronological or cultural label. So these megalithic burials that we all know that belonging to Iron Age are roughly between 1000 BC to 500 CE. Research on megalithic burials since 19th century after James Babbington reported the megalithic monuments from Kerala. So after this discovery of Babbington, there are numerous studies were conducted in this megalithic burials, but most of the studies are concentrated on the typology of the monument or the architecture, or the distribution pattern of the monuments. But the material culture or the grave goods, the studies on the grave goods are very limited, and among the grave goods, these pottery or the ceramics is the studies on the ceramics is very limited. Very few articles has been published so far, particularly focusing on burial pottery from Kerala. This one article is published by K. Govinda Menon, that is in 1937. Then after 1937, an article that is particularly focusing on the burial pottery of Kerala, that published in 2019 by Knori, Abhayan and Rajesh et al. So this study, this presentation tries to understand the nature of pottery assemblies that unearthed from the megalithic burials of Kerala. So for this presentation, I have taken three sites as a sample. The first site is Cheramanangadu. This is all these sites are located in the central part of Kerala. So Cheramanangadu is located in Thrissur district, and this site is known as Kodakal Parambu. So this site is protected by Archaeological Survey of India, and this site is known for the existence of multiple monuments like circle, Kodakal or umbrella stone, topical or hat stone, wood stone. The site is excavated in two seasons, in 1990 to 91 and 2002 to 3. So here you can see different types of monuments from Cheramanangadu. Here the first photograph is the Kodak umbrella stone, then the hood stone, then circle, then hat stone. So next site is Anakara. Anakara is located in the district of Palakkad. So this site is also excavated. Here you can see a number of monuments, like here in the first photograph you can see the rocket cave. So all these photographs are taken during the excavation. So the second one has the circle, and the third one is the urn, and the fourth one is showing the Kodakal, the excavation of a Kodakal. So the next site is Ambalamedu, where assisted by Rajan Gurukul, but no other details like the location or the contextual details are not available because the excavation report is not yet published. But the material unearthed from the site Ambalamedu is deposited in the Museum of School of Social Science, MG University. So I thank Dr. Rajan Gurukul and Dr. Radhika for giving the permission to study on these materials. So if we take this age of pottery that is unearthed from these sites, we can divide it into 6 classes based on their color, surface treatment, and method of manufacturing. So the first category, that is, I'm using here the system of classes and variant classification. So the first class is class 1, that is corresponds to redware in redware in the archaeological literature. So this is an unslipped ware. So if we take the whole assemblage, the frequency of this ware is very less. in comparison with the other vessels. So usually in archaeological literature, this redware, the definition of this redware is very loosely stated, and very often this redware and red slipware is interchangeably used. Megalithic context itself, I have noticed that. So the variant 1 is a pottery with the application of red slip on the surfaces, and if you take the case of variant 2, it has the same features of variant, but the variation has been noticed only in the application of slip, because the slip is confined to a particular part of the vessel, because sometimes it is the slip is treated only on the upper part of the vessel, or sometimes it is on the lower part of the vessel. So this is the second variant of this class 2. Then comes to class 3, that is the black and red ware. So this is one of the most discussed pottery because of its distinctive double color. So as you all know, this group of vessels has a black slipped interior, and on the exterior, this black is confined to the upper part, and the remaining exterior is treated with red slip. Then class 4, that is the black slipware. So here the surfaces is treated with black slip. Then coming to class 5, that is the correspond to russet coated painted wire. Here the distinctive feature is that this vessels appears with a white or yellowish painted designs on the exterior. So here there are two variants in this class. This variant 1 appears in red slip wire, and the variant 2 appears in black and red wire. So there are two variants that is in this class 4 category. Then this class 6 is earned because of this manufacturing technique and the surface treatment. This category, these urns are treated as a separate category. So urns is a large terracotta vessels with bulbous body. Usually we will find it in the burials. Usually we'll find it indoor into the megalithic burials. So now I'll show you some of the pottery images from the sites discussed above. So these are the pottery from the site Cheramanangadu. You can see here this is class 5 category, that is russet coated painted wire. Here only the variant 1, class 5 variant 1 is available. That is this paintings or this russet painted designs appears on red slip wire. Then the class 3, that is the black and red ware pottery, also available from the site. And this is the class 2 variant 1, that is the class 2 variant 1 is the dominant group of vessels from Cheramanangadu. In most cases, in most of the sites have this representation of class 2 variant was always high in comparison with the other classes. So these are the some of the images of pottery images that belongs to class 2 variant 1. These images are from the site Anakara. You can see that the forms itself, the typology and tree available in the Cheramanangadu sites. Here this one is actually belongs to the class 2 variant 2 type, because the slip is treated only on the upper part of the vessel, and there are this class 2 the variant 1, that is the red slip wire, and here you can see this black and red wire, then this RCP. So from Anakara all these 6 categories of vessels were available from Anakara, but in Cheramanangadu the class 4 type is is totally absent. But in Anakara, this class 4 type, that is the black slip wire, is available, but only in a very few fragmentary sherds. So these are some other images from Anakara. So this is the images from Ambalamedu. So here also you can see there are some common forms, but there are most of the pottery shows a variability in forms and typology. So here you can see the feature of this site is that here the number of vessels belonging to the category of class 4, that is black slipware, is high compared to the other site, because in Cheramanangad this vessel is totally absent. In Anakara there are very few fragmentary shards, but in coming to Ambalamedu, this vessel is the number of vessel is considerably high. And there is another form that was not available in the sites like Cheramanangadu and Anakara. This Lake Bijaras is available only in I mean, say, if we take this examples or these samples, these forms are available in this Ambalamedu site. If we take the whole assemblage, whole pottery assemblage unearthed from the sites discussed above, it shows a great variability. Even in the same type of monument, also the pottery unearthed from the same type of monument also shows variability. So if we take the case of Anakara, where 4 burials were excavated, which are located a few kilometers away from each other. So, but the pottery or the vessels unearthed from these burials also shows a great variability. Because so we can't attribute that that the variability, the ceramic variability in the burials is due to the region, is due to the regional variation, because the Anakara is the perfect example that all these sites are located in the same region, but the pottery unearthed from these burials are totally different, even though there are some common forms, but if we take the whole picture, there is a great variability in forms and typology of the vessels. There are also burials without any grave goods. For example, the Kodakal excavation at Cheramanangadu. So this monument has not yielded any kind of grave good. So the excavator considered that this burials as a symbolic burial. But we can't consider all Kodakals or all the monuments that comes under the category of Kodakal cannot be considered as a symbolic burial structure, because the excavation of a Kodakal at Anakara revealed a number of grave goods, including the pottery. So usually in the grave goods are considered as an indicator to understand the social status of the deceased. But here the variability in this pottery assemblage shows that the social status of the deceased may have a decisive role in selecting the burial type. But while selecting the grave goods, it might be decided on a composite factors. Social status is one of the factor, but there are some other factors that has a role in selecting the ceramics or the grave goods to deposit into the graves. So now I am moving to the focus of this presentation, this use alteration traces. So the word use alteration traces means that all kinds of changes on the appeared on the vessels, either through chemical action or through physical actions. So this use alteration traces gives clues to understand the actual function, not the intended function, but the actual function. So these traces suggest that these vessels were used in certain activities before it is being placed into the grave. So to understand the patterns of this use alteration traces that is found in the burial ceramics, that I have cross-referenced with the observation of use of vessels in the contemporary context. So the major or the common alteration trace is surface adhesion. So surface attrition means the removal or deformation of vessel surfaces. Here in the pottery assemblage, we have observed two kinds of surface attrition, that is abrasive and non-abrasive. Abrasive attrition means the removal of the surface through a mechanical contact, and non-abrasive attrition is mainly happens because of the chemical process. So here you can see a pot from Cheramanangadu. If you closely observe, you can see see a patch on the rim portion of the vessel. So this is a very thick patch. And here also, this is actually a pot stand from Ambalamedu. Here also, this is the base part. So here also you can see such kind of patches. So this is actually happens as a result of abrasion. So here, this is these photographs are taken from the contemporary context. So the first photo, the vessel is used for storage purpose. These vessels are in use for 2 years, and the third photograph, that is used for storing the drinking water. And this is the third photograph, is the base part of the same vessel, the drinking vessel. So here you can see, while comparing these photographs, you can see that the third picture or the drinking vessel has a very thick patches on the rim portion. In comparison to the first picture, the density of the patch is very thick here in the second photograph. So this is actually these kinds of traces actually appears in the surface while sliding the lid. If we want to access the content of the vessel, so we have to slide the lid, or we have to remove the lid of the vessel. So if you are using frequently, if you are using for a long time, while sliding the lid of the vessel, abrasion happens, and these kinds of patches appears on the rim. So if the third photograph shows that the base portion also has such traces. So this is actually as a result of moving the vessel across the surface. So while moving the vessel across the surface, the same process that the abrasion happens, and these kinds of marks will appear on the vessel surface. So you can see the density of the patches is different according to the activity. So the previous photograph here, these kinds of patches appear as a result of moving the vessel or across the surface, and like these patches, this usually noticed on the rim portion is appears as a result of sliding the lid. So this is the another form of attrition, that is, you can see some nick marks or chipping marks. So this is actually happens. This is actually as an indication of a one-time striking. So here in the contemporary context also we have such marks. So this vessel is actually used as a big vessel used for water storage. So this here you can see this these kind of marks similar to the marks available in the archaeological context. So this actually happens, these kinds of traces appears on the vessel surface as a result of striking with another material, or striking the surface with another surface. While taking the vessel for washing, or while accessing the content, these kinds of marks may happen as a result of striking. So the next attrition is the you can see here the scratch marks. So here these kinds of scratch marks usually appears on the surface as a result of washing the vessel. So here the scratch marks are, it's not that much visible, but there are some scratch marks. So here you can see these scratch marks. So if you moving to the next photograph, you can see the scratch marks are a bit more visible, bit more prominent compared to the previous picture. So these variance, this degree of variance in this patches shows that the frequency or the duration of the activity for which these particular vessels are used. So there is a variance in the use of each vessels deposited in the burials. So the next attrition, next form of attrition is non-abrasive attrition. This is usually happens while storing the water for a long time or in a thermal activity. So because if we store water in a vessel, so this photograph, the first photograph, you can see the surface start to erode, and in the second photograph, almost all the surface or all the slip applied on the vessel is completely worn out. So this is actually happens through salteration or through thermal or in the thermal activity. So here you can see this a major portion of this a vessel's surface is peeled off. This is because of the salteration. These kinds of traces appears because of the salteration. So another form of attrition that usually happens in thermal activity or fermentation or through the fermentation process. So here you can see pitting marks. This is actually the base part of the vessel. So this is usually seen on in the interior wall and also on the exterior wall. So these pitting mark shows that if the pottery is not thermal resistive, there is a chance to erode the inclusions in the clay. So then this will result these kinds of pitting marks in the thermal activity. So this traces of pitting marks also shows this was in use, this particular vessel was in use. It has been used for some kind of thermal activity. So here you can see the internal surface. This is a small pot from Anakara. So if the internal surface is totally burned out, and you can see the pitting marks all over the internal surface. So these kinds of marks usually appears as a result of a fermentation process, food fermentation process. This photograph or this vessel is also an example that these vessels were used before being placed into the grave. So that I have already said, this surface at the most common use alteration traces available in the whole assemblage of the burial ceramics. But there are other form of use alteration traces like surface accretion. So surface accretion means the accumulation of new material to the vessel surfaces. This mainly visible in the form of carbon deposit or soot deposit. So the percentage of occurrence of vessels with soot deposit is very less compared to the vessels with surface attrition. So here you can see the vessels with soot deposit. Here also, if you closely observe, you can understand that the density of this deposition, this carbon deposition, is not equal. So in the first photograph, you can see it's actually this first photograph is also an indicator that if we are doing this morphological analysis to understand the function, this use alteration trace is also necessary to reconstruct the function of a particular vessel, because if we go for a morphological analysis, these kinds of vessel usually usually made or intended to use as a serving bowl or as a lid. But in this case, if we look at the use alteration traces, we can understand that this vessel is used for some kind of thermal activity. So if we want to reconstruct the function of a particular vessel, we have to look the use alteration traces also to get the actual use of that particular vessel. So here you can see this only on the base part has this soot deposit. It's a very thin layer, and if you go to the second photograph, you can see the almost the lower body is completely has the deposit of this carbon deposit, and it's comparatively it has a very thick layer. So the third photograph, you can see the entire surface, the entire exterior of the vessel is covered with this soot deposit. So here, these are some of the photographs from the contemporary context. So these soot deposits or the soot traces also gives us clues to understand what kind of earth they have used. So here you can see these earths are actually made of by placing 3 stones. So by leaving gap in between. So if we are using these kinds of earth by leaving gaps in between, so there is a chance to spread the flames and the soot or the carbon is deposited all over the entire surface of the vessel. So here you can see the lid portion has the soot deposit. So usually you can see this this form is very similar to the photograph that I have shown previously. So here in the lid also this soot or the carbon deposit can be seen in the in the exterior part of this vessel. So if we are using the earth like this open kind of earth, so there is a chance to deposit the carbon on the entire surface of the entire exterior of the vessel. Then if you are using the earths like this, here this circular type of earth, there is no possibility to spread out the flame. So the flame is only concentrated on the base part. So the soot deposit or the carbon deposit is available only on the base part of the vessel. So these kinds of soot deposit gives clues to understand the types of earth or types of thermal activity for which these particular vessels were used. So this is actually a preliminary study, and this, if you take the use alteration traces visible on the vessels, this suggests that these vessels deposited in the burials were used for various kinds of activity. And as I said earlier, the degree of the traces traces observed on the vessels are not equal. So this also there may be various reasons for the variance in the degree of traces, because different reasons, like different factors like type of activity or the use of a particular vessel in a particular activity, and the duration of that activity and the frequency of that activity. These three major factors influence the degree of traces that appeared on the vessel surfaces. So these use alteration traces and also the variability of forms and types of ceramics indicate that these vessels were, most of these vessels were in use before being placed into the grave. So this suggests that there was no exclusively made ceramic kit for placing the or depositing into the grave. There was no exclusive ceramic kit for the exclusive ceramic kit made as a grave good, exclusively for the grave good. So these traces indicate that these all the vessels, most of the vessels were placed in the grave, were taken from the habitation context. So this is only a preliminary study. So we have to do more on to understand what are the criteria in selecting these used pottery, and also to understand the more complexities of this nature of these burial ceramics. We have to do more works. This is only a preliminary study. Thank you.